Haha, I had my microphone on mute. Let's pretend it's a Teams meeting. Good morning. I am Rob, that developer dad, and we're getting really, really close as of the end of yesterday afternoon's stream to having a website that doesn't look like a total train wreck and is functional. So, without too much front matter or preamble or anything like that, I think we'll just dive in. Today we are going to be continuing to combine our base layout with the article layout that we started working on yesterday afternoon, and let's see what comes out of it. So let's flip to the screen share. Boop. We have our handy dandy little Finder window. We'll get a new terminal. Pull that over here. Let's open VS Code. Now there's a command you can use in VS Code right after you install it on a Mac that lets you do that. This code space current folder thing doesn't work out of the box. You got to do some stuff. Maybe in a future stream, once the website is done, before I pivot over to C# and .NET content, maybe I should uninstall all of my stuff and go through the process of reinstalling it and setting it all back up again, so that other people like me who want to start working with C# and .NET and are using a Mac can do so without too much pain. So we've got code, and we need to start our Astro server. So npm run dev is our incantation for that. Up that comes. It's running on localhost 4321. And I actually have a saved tab set. Here we go. The articles page is there. We have our posts. Now, once the infrastructure is written for the site and we've got things behaving the way we want, I'm going to go ahead offline and fill in all the content because I've got a couple articles already written, and I don't think it's really worth your guys' time to watch me sit here typing away at the content that I want to serve through this site. So instead, once we've got the site styled and it's fully functional, and it's looking good and we're happy with the way it looks and behaves, I think we're going to pivot over to some C# and some .NET content. I've got quite a few ideas for applications that we can build during our time together here. And I do intend to go right from here's the idea to making notes about the requirements, what we want the application to do once it's done, designing the architecture and how the code is laid out, and then finally writing our tests and writing our code and figuring out where and or how to deploy it to somewhere useful. I'm probably going to run most of these things on my device rather than push them up to say the cloud like Azure or anything like that. Unless, of course, I decide that it'd be worthwhile pushing up to, say, the Azure App Service or something like that just for learning and demonstration purposes. But I probably won't be making those applications available to the public because, frankly, I can't afford the Azure spend. But what I will do that's different from what we're doing here with the website is when we move to those C# programs and the C# streams, I'm going to be pushing those to public GitHub repositories And I do intend to release all of those under a Creative Commons license so that anybody that needs a piece of the code that I develop on these streams, or any of the modules, or even, you know, a full-blown application, they can fork that repository, make it do what they need it to do, and everything is fine. It'll be 100% legal. I don't want to make money from the code or the content or anything like that. That's not what I'm about. I am about sharing my knowledge and giving it back to the community for free. That said, if somebody wants to give me a donut, I will absolutely accept that donut, and there's a Buy Me a Coffee link down at the bottom of the webpage, and the developer tools keep popping up to interfere. Let's click over here. If you are so inclined, I do have a page over here on coffee where you can come over and buy me a coffee. This is, of course, my administrative page because I'm logged in. And my network is being silly, but that's okay. That's not what we're here to do. We are here to keep building the website. So, yesterday, I did a bad thing, and I raced ahead of the tutorial and started nesting the layouts. Our Markdown article layout, you can see here, I imported my base layout already. I no longer need to explicitly import that header component because the header is included in the base layout. We can get rid of this front matter.title. Goodbye. And we'll save that. We've got published on, pulled from the front matter. We've got written by, pulled from that front matter. And this is an example of that front matter in question. So before we dive into the next steps in our tutorial, let's update our daily, or our twice daily Scrum morning session. Yesterday, let's make that a level 3 header. Got a template. Astro calls them layouts for the articles are added as markdown files to the posts folder in our project. Combined, oh, excuse me, the article template with the base layout template to get our navigation and footer content onto those article pages as well. Today we will work through the tutorial to properly combine those two templates. I probably missed a couple details. Once that chapter's done, we'll see what's next. And as of right now, I don't have any interviews or calls or anything like that this afternoon from 1 until 2, so I do intend to have an afternoon stream. And for now, let's dive in. So we've added the layout to all of our blog posts. We've incorporated, or we've nested the article layout inside the base layout, where we're passing in the page title as the title to the page that ultimately gets created. Good. This chapter should hopefully go fairly quickly. So let's just make sure, we'll follow through here and we'll make sure I did it right. So base layout from, we're pulling in astro.props. That's what pulls in the metadata from the actual markdown page that we're rendering from. Or sorry, front matter. I keep calling it metadata because that's what that kind of thing is called in the world that I come from. And we apply all of that to our blog posts. And here it's starting to talk about adding images. And that's something that I've been wanting to do. Now, I've got an image link over here, and it's pointing at something over on the Astro build assets, rows, WebP, alt, blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and add that to our article layout. Now, they've put the image below the title and the pub date, and they brought in the description. Let's do that. I definitely want to bring that description in. Okay. I'm thinking ahead to how we want to customize this a little bit. And then let's go ahead and grab this image tag. Copy. Let's drop it here just for now, just to see what we get. And we know that post 1 has an image, post 2 does not, our session stand up does not. So I want to see how this reacts if there's no image specified in the front matter. Because I'd be curious. Cannot read properties of undefined URL. That's fine. Why is it complaining about that? Let's go here. Articles. Post 1. There's our image. Post 2, I think that's going to error. Yep. And it's also going to error if we go to the session stand-up notes. So now we need to go do that conditional rendering thing that I skipped over way earlier. And let's see here. There's search. I'm going to pop this in a new tab. Rendering modes, server output mode, pre-rendered, blah, 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 blah. Conditional. Using JSX logical operators. Okay, so here's that. So visible and dynamic tags is this. Fragment set, Astro and JS, class equals box, blah, blah, blah. Those are attributes. Multiple elements, comments. I think what we want is this, but we're going to have to do some playing with that. Because I don't want to have to add a Boolean to our front matter when we don't have a image. And then what I would have to do basically is come in here and say, I could do it this the cheesy way, has image true. And then test has image out in the layout, but I don't like that. That's super cheesy. Instead, I think what I want to do is test to see if image is not undefined is the way to do that. So let's see here. I'm going to grab the tutorial text. I'm going to pull that off to my other monitor real quick. Here we go. Hello, one viewer. And our syntax is this. Just copied straight out. And we don't have a variable called visible. That's fine. However, I believe let's experiment with a JavaScript expression. 1 equals 1. Very simple JavaScript expression. This is going to evaluate to true. And we'll load, I'm going to comment this. Just to prevent the error messages. We'll pull the site back over here. Let's test here. There's show me. So we know that we can do a JavaScript expression in there. So I think we can say front matter dot image is not equal to undefined. And image so we've got all that saved, and let's see if that'll do what we expect it to. So we'll come into post 1. There's an image. Post 2. There's not an image. Oh, we have fix. Or at least we've verified that our theory will work. And by pulling out all of the complicated stuff that we want to do into just a very, very simple, let's try this test, that allowed us to determine very quickly if we're on the right track. So when you get stuck on a programming problem, or there's something that you need to do that you're just having a heck of a time figuring out. Sometimes it's a whole lot easier to simplify what you're trying to do down to its base elements of the things that you know how to do. So here we started with, and I'm going to undo a few steps. All we did is we copied and pasted the thing in from the tutorial. And we changed that visible because we don't have a visible variable defined anywhere in the either in the local scope or in the more global or imported scopes. Let's see if Y is redo. I don't know what redo is. Redo is Shift-Z. Okay. I'm still getting used to some Mac key bindings. So we started off with this. We copied and pasted that in. And we said, okay, will a JavaScript expression work here just as well as a JavaScript variable? So we introduced something that we knew would be true. We'll save that. And we can't read URL because it doesn't exist. However, show me is here. Great. And then we further, that's where we commented out the image tag. Silly me. We further changed it to say, okay, well, we know a JavaScript expression works. Will an expression that tests for the presence of the image property on our front matter object work? And we, whoops, and we saved it. And we bring it back over here. We come to articles and we go to post. There's show me. We go to post 2, there is no show me. So we know we're good. Now, what we've done is we've figured out how to conditionally show this image. I'm going to copy that out of here. We're going to paste it in here. We'll save. And now let's see about coming over here. We don't have the error message on blog post 2. We have our image because post 1, remember, does have the reference to the image. And then let's go back to home, take a look at our Scrum notes, and our Scrum notes continue to render. That's great. I like this. Okay, so I'm going to close this, and we can close the syntax reference. We now have an example of doing conditional element rendering right inside our code. And I no longer feel bad about coming in here and commenting out that image if it'll let me. I don't think it's gonna. Nope, it's not gonna let me toggle that as a block comment. That's okay. No, I was gonna change that to not an image, but let's just leave it there for now. Okay, so we have modified this. We've checked our browser preview, our main page layout. we have, including our styles, nav links, and social footer. The blog post layout, including the front matter properties like description, date, title, and image. Great. And the markdown content. When we did this yesterday, when I raced ahead of the tutorial yesterday afternoon, we ended up with the post title displayed twice. So I got rid of that. And then, okay, this is all just check your browser preview again at such and such and verify that this line is no longer displayed and that your title is only displayed once. Make any other adjustments necessary to ensure that you do not have any duplicated content. Did all that yesterday. Great. Each blog post shows the same page template. No content is missing. If one of the blog posts is missing content, check its front matter properties. We actually left some of that front matter blank yesterday. I don't have a author attribute in there. I don't believe I put a description or tags, and that's okay because I left that there as a test, or as an easy way to test to make sure those things would work. So blog post 2, we see written by is blank. There's no description. Having to go back to articles is getting kind of annoying, isn't it? Here's the description for post 1 and our stand-up notes. There's that. All right. So we've done all that stuff. No content is duplicated on a page. All right. If you'd like to customize your page template, you can. We will, eventually. All right. This allows you to nest one layout inside another and take advantage of working with modular pieces. Is component-based design. Multiple layouts are particularly useful for projects that contain markdown pages like a blog. Which of these provides templating for all your pages? Index, post 1, that's base layout. These are softball questions. I can nest layouts and check for any duplicated elements. All right, unit number 2. We're moving right along here. Hopefully we'll start to understand whether or not we can fly in images and whether or not we have to use absolute URLs like this, or if we'll be able to use relative URLs like we do up here. But we'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out eventually. All right, back to the tutorial. The Astro API. This is probably where we're going to start to get some superpowers. So, we have some blog posts, and if we, it's time to use Astro's API to work with your files. This sounds exciting. We'll supercharge the blog with an index page, tag pages, and an RSS feed. Oh, interesting. Along the way, we are going to learn how to use astro.glob to access data from files in your project. We're going to get static paths. That's another method that's going to have us create multiple pages or routes at the same time. And the Astro RSS package to create an RSS feed. All right. Yeah, I'm ready to add some blog features. Let's do it. Let's create a blog post archive. Now that you have a few blog posts to link to, it's time to configure the blog page to create a list of them automatically. Oh, that's nice, because I'm going to close these MD files. I'm going to close index.astro, and let's get rid of the markdown article layout. We don't need that. We're not going to monkey around with global.css yet, but over here on articles, see, this is going to become a massive pain in the neck. The more I add articles to this site, I would have to come in here and change the list of links, and that's not something that I'm going to remember to do every time. And I'm going to be like, well, I uploaded the article. Why isn't it linked? Why am I not getting any traffic? It's because I didn't add it to the index. So instead of having to do this manually, it looks like Astro gives us some methods that we can call that are going to do that for us. And it looks like we're going to get into doing that right now. And hello, new follower. I just got alerted that somebody just followed me for the very first time, and my eyes were too slow to see who that was. Ah, Cottonmouth Zero. Welcome to the gang, Mr. Cottonmouth. Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. Yes, Cottonmouth. Speaking of, it's time for some coffee. All right. So they say add the following code to blog.astro. I don't have a blog.astro. I have an articles.astro. And this is going to do an astro.glob. And then it's going to scan this folder here, or this directory. And we can see that it's going to pick up all of the markdown files in that folder. Rather than me try and type it. You know what? I'm just going to type it in. Rather than copying and pasting. So there's a lot of people, myself included, that do a lot of copy-paste coding. And I find it incredibly convenient, and it speeds me along. But when I'm learning something new, and it's a brand new concept to me, I would much rather manually type in the code that I'm borrowing from Stack Overflow or Copilot or wherever I've found the answer to the problem that I'm trying to figure out. And the reason is by typing it in, it makes it real in my head. If I just go highlight Control-C, Control-V, build, run, done, I haven't learned anything. And copying and pasting is fine. It's okay to do it, but I would urge everybody engaged in software development that when you do find the solution to a problem you're trying to solve, and somebody else has already written the code and they've made it available for you to just copy and paste into your own code base, please take the time to understand what that code is doing. Because that way you've learned how it works for yourself, so you'll save the time. Next time you have to do this, you won't have to Google it again. You'll be able to just find it in your code and copy and paste it and try to understand it. And eventually you'll just be able to do it straight out your head. You'll also be able to explain to your senior developers or your architect or your manager at code review time what that copied and pasted code does instead of sitting there and saying, I don't know, I just grabbed it from Stack Overflow. That's never a comfortable conversation. You need to understand what the stuff you add to the project does. And we're going to do that in just a second as soon as I finish typing this in. We're going to go keyword by keyword. Astro.glob, open parens. I always forget the semicolons, so I'm going to go ahead and add that now before I inject the parameter value. /posts/ everything that ends with MD. And that's just a standard MS-DOS, Unix command line file system type wildcard that they used there. Let's take a look at this. So const, that's a JavaScript constant that applies to this entire page. Anywhere inside articles.astro, I can reference underscore all posts and get whatever value has been assigned to that variable. And I believe const in JavaScript is the same thing as a const in, say, C# or .NET. We can't really modify the value of that once it's been set. Now, I add that underscore because it is at the module scope. This variable applies anywhere inside the HTML that gets rendered out here. So const all posts equals await. Await's a funny little keyword. I'll talk about that in a second. Astro.glob. So Astro is the name of the API that we're calling into, or the name of the class, the service module, whatever the language is that's been imported or is part of our framework. Glob is a method that's exposed by the Astro API. Glob requires a path that can resolve to a file system operation. It's obviously saying all of the markdown files in the posts folder that lives inside the folder that you're currently rendering from. Await says to the backend framework that's actually doing the work of building our site, this astro.glob function might take a while. So please wait until this function comes back before you proceed to the next instruction in our program. In C# and .NET, we have the async and await keywords. Await does the same thing in .NET. And I believe we have to do this here in JavaScript because by default, I think JavaScript would execute this line and immediately move to the next one, or it would start executing the line and immediately move to the next one and keep interpreting, even though this one hasn't completed yet. And we're going to need the values to be populated inside all posts before we proceed to render our page. So if we don't have that await keyword here, we might get some funny stuff show up down in our page. Excuse me. Let's pull this back over here. So astro.glob, all it says here is that it will return an array of objects, one for each blog post. I don't know what this array is going to look like. And I'm not a big fan of JavaScript because it doesn't, the debugging tools and our ability to step through the JavaScript is a little shaky even in modern browsers and stuff. I don't like working with JavaScript because the testing and debugging tool sets are not as friction-free as I prefer to work with. All right, we've got our posts. Here's the page title. It was already there. Base page layout, blah, blah, blah. No further changes. To generate the entire list of posts dynamically, using the post titles and URLs, replace the individual list item tags with the following code. Let's go ahead, copy this, because that's a whole lot of crap to type. And we're going to step through the line of code that I am about to paste. I'm just going to drop this here. And let's come down here. I'll fix the red squiggly in just a second. I'm going to comment out those list items. There's that. Okay, so all posts is an array of objects. .map is the same as saying for each item in this all posts array, perform this function using the variable name post to represent the individual item that we're looking at. And we want to render ahref equals post.url post.frontmatter.title. All right, let's save this. We've pasted it in. We're following the instructions. We've saved it. Let's take a look. Ho, ho, ho. Look at that. All right, now those are in a different order than I prefer, but that's okay. That's all right. Let's test them. Second blog post, I dig it. First blog post, it's there. Session Scrum notes, I like it. Okay. I don't like how session Scrum notes went to the bottom. We might have to do some silly JavaScript tricks at some point to get that working the way we want. But we could turn that into a GitHub issue when it's time. All right. Now it says add a new blog post. So our entire list, I skipped. Our entire list of blog posts is now being generated dynamically by mapping over the array returned by astro.glob. Great. Add a new blog post by creating a new post.for.md in posts, and we'll add some markdown content. Just because this is an exercise, I'm going to copy this. And after we have done our experiment, we'll get rid of it. So, posts, new file, post3.md. There's that. We'll paste this in here. Save that. Let's see. Oh, we got an error. Does the file exist? Oh, Markdown post layout. Markdown. Article layout. See what happens when you blindly copy and paste into from somebody else's context into your own? Things explode. Learn from my fails. And here's my fourth blog post. I wonder how those are sorting. This post would show up with my other blog posts because AstroGlob is returning a list of all my posts in order to create my list. I dig it. Let's get rid of it. Goodbye. Yes, get lost. And if we come back to our page, it's already gone. This is lovely. I like this a lot. You know what? I feel like I am going to want to use this snippet in a couple of different places on this site. And I'm also going to want to use it in a couple of different ways. I'm going to deviate from the tutorial Yep, I'm going to do something that they didn't tell me to do yet. TOC.astro. Article table of contents. Boom. And just so that I've got an example of what I want to do, let's split that off to the right. Give ourselves a little bit more breathing room over here. We're in article TOC. I can close that version. All right, we're going to need front matter. And I'm going to come over here, grab this. Come on. Come on, cursor. Don't make me curse. Copy this out of here. Give it a little paste. We need to come over here, grab this, copy that, paste it in here, and we're going to have to alter this because I believe this code is going to be executing from inside the components folder. But before we go and modify that, let's do an experiment. I like experiments. Import lowercase I article table of contents from. What are you doing, Rob? Add the semicolon now. Up one level. Components. Article TOC Astro. Thank you, IntelliSense. I bet. Article TOC. We'll inject the article TOC component. Got to use the correct case. Save it. I have a feeling this is going to crash horribly because, or it's either going to crash or it's going to output absolutely nothing. Let's add a little bit of text in there right now just to see that it renders, but I bet we're going to get an empty list. Let's take a look. Oh no, we got explosion. And AstroGlob did not match any files. That's okay. I know why. Because our article TOC component is sitting in the components folder, and the glob command is being told to look for a posts folder inside wherever it's sitting. Well, that's not there. So we have to go pages /pages, and let's see if this will give us what we want. Look at that list of articles, blah blah blah. So that means that worked. Save. We can close our reference here. I'm going to come out to articles.astro. We can actually get rid of this. Goodbye. We can get rid of this. See you later. save that. And we're going to do something with this later on. Much later on. I have an idea for that. So let's very quickly test. Make sure we haven't destroyed anything along the way. All of our links are there. Articles, links are there. My first blog post, second blog post, session scrum notes. Let's just super quick add a new file, post-3.md. I'm going to grab the front matter from post 1, copy, paste. It is the 25th today. It is, in fact, my third blog post. This was only added to test the automatic list builder, the automatic, excuse me, article TOC component we just built. That developer dad, Astro blogging, learning in public. Hello there. And because I'm silly, OB1, hello there, image, images, copy link. Holy smokes. Alt tag. A young Jedi master about to engage in some droid butt kicking. I just want to see if that works. I'm probably not going to check in that monstrosity of a URL. Articles, my third blog post. Oh yeah, that link's broke. That's okay. We'll just get rid of the image altogether. Goodbye. And we'll save, and we'll test, and that works. Great. Great, great, great. It's time for us to do our morning GitHub ritual. Finished combining the article and base layouts. Finished nesting to handle our blog posts. Built a dynamic table of contents component for those to automatically create a list of the markdown files in our posts folder. Commit and sync. And because this is mainline development, I am still giving myself permission to commit directly to main once the site is at least to minimum viable product, where I'm pretty happy with the way it looks and acts and stuff like that, and I'm working on extending its behavior or altering the look and feel and just working on incremental improvements. Once we're into iterating on the basic product, I'll be doing all of these check-ins against feature branches or issue branches, and then after the testing and development and testing's done, we'll incorporate those into the deployed version of the product via issuing a pull request and testing and merging, and then ultimately off it goes. Let's go up to GitHub. I'll just open a new Safari window. Here's GitHub. And we'll go into this, which is my private repository. I'm using a private repository for the website because, well, it's branding and it's like my personal stuff. But when we, as I said, when we get into build and deploy job, is it still running? No, it's queued. Okay, that's fine. It'll take off eventually. If it doesn't, I'll get an email from GitHub later this morning, and I'll come in here and fix whatever happened and so on. I was concerned that I was going to run out of GitHub processing minutes because I thought I saw somewhere that it's like 60 free minutes a month. I double checked last night. For the free tier that I'm using, it's 2,000 processing minutes a month. So I'm not super worried about it. We're queued. Yep. Okay. So nothing bad has happened. It's just waiting to run through the process. This afternoon, we're going to continue working through the tutorials. We've done the stuff. We've added the blog post. Oh, look, challenge, create a component. Already did it. Cool. This afternoon, we're going to generate a tag page. And I think if I have time between now and then, I might look into the whole question of bringing in images, whether I have to use an absolute or if I can use a relative URL for images that I'm hosting within the site. If I can use relative ones, or once I get that question answered, I'm going to add some images to an assets folder somewhere off the root of the project, probably right here in the source folder. We'll see. I'll get the details to that, but I'm going to do this offline. I do have some images that I want to bring in and incorporate. I'll probably do that incorporation offline, either between streams or after the afternoon stream if I have time. Because we've already seen how images can get brought in via metadata, or front matter, I should say. I want to start bringing in like a header image on the index page, and I've got some like decoration images for some of the blog posts that I've already written and are hosted over on LinkedIn right now, but I'm going to rehost them here. It is almost 11 o'clock. I am going to go do some real life stuff for a couple hours, and I will see you at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Be good to yourselves, and be good to each other. Take care. I'm that developer dad. Where's my cursor?